And now we have the dolls known as the Kubela dolls, very famous pieces in Rosalie's museum, and wonderful, intriguing, and mysterious history behind the dolls. These dolls were first located in Paris in the 1920s, and they were brought back to America, and they appeared in the Gay Museum in North Carolina for several decades until they were finally acquired by Mildred Seeley in the 1980s, and she had them in her home. I remember seeing them in her living room in this proudful place. She had them there until Rosalie Wilde acquired them sometime later and kept them in the museum until the days the museum closed. Now, they're known as the Kubela dolls because Joseph Kubela was an Austrian who invented a system for mannequins, not for dolls, that is very, very similar to this doll, which is where there is a groove cut at the side of the head, an actual groove cut in the wood, and then the head is accommodated to fit into that groove, so appearing as though it's actually growing from the scalp, like our hair is. Very, very ingenious technique. However, these dolls do not appear to be, even though they're all fully wooden, they do not have the appearance of being dolls from that time period. The costumes, yes, but not the doll faces themselves, particularly the young man that every time I saw him in Rosalie's house, I would always say, well, he looks more like, like the gentleman fine guys wearing Arrow shirts or something in the 1920 ads. He just has a different look. The man, by the way, has sculpted hair. He does not have the hair wig cut like that. So the dolls are just like a mystery. Well, then we found out that in 1909, another gentleman named Friedman made a similar patent to what Kubela had done years ago with a groove cut on the head. So it's possible that these were done by Friedrich in 1909. Rosemary loved to buy dolls that had a mystery like this, and she wasn't afraid to challenge head-on controversy that might be surrounding them. Well, why are you calling them this? And I don't think they are, and blah, blah, blah. And then she said, well, let's talk about it. And she would present different viewpoints, and she was so great about this. She just had such an open mind to learning about the history. In her book, The One Rose, she featured these dolls, and I have this paper here because I wanted to quote you what she said about them. She loved these dolls. They were some of her favorite, and she said that their important doll history is hidden, at least for now, behind their enigmatic smiles. The wonderful doll in Rosalie's museum is this doll with her body is completely articulated, wooden and or composition, completely articulated body, and this wonderful character expression, a socket head, folks, and great expression, and she's wearing this multi-layered costume. Not known as much about it, but she does appear to be from the whole German art secessionist movement of the early 1900s. Her wonderful costume includes these silver coins that are all dated from the mid-1800s, each a different year of the mid-1800s. And she has this beautiful embroidered cap on her head. Oh, she's got a blue ribbon. Look at that. And wonderful ribbons at the back. Let me see. The blue ribbon, it doesn't. Philadelphia, UFDC, 1995 blue ribbon. Okay, folks. A wonderful doll. Again, needing more research, somebody can identify this. We have this beautiful, attributed to Brew, black doll, and I'm going to hold it up because she's kind of tipped over so you can see her face a little more. She has a great character type expression on her face. But what is equally intriguing is the aspects of her costume you're seeing, and her hair and her jewelry. And let me just show you her hair all the way around. Wonderfully woven hair with the beautiful gold coins coming down from it. That belongs in the front. The tassels, the coils of the hair are just very, very, like almost ceremonious in how they're done. It's wonderful. And this is a part of the traditional area and region that she's from, are the little strings of the cork balls that were under the costume. I have no idea what the purpose was. Could have been like a bustle in a way, but I don't know. Very rare doll, attributed to Brew. We have two dolls here that Rosalie had acquired from the famous Estelle Johnston collection, and these are signed by Kate. One of them has the KPM signature on her back. Wonderful porcelain dolls, and these beautiful and outrageous, actually, theatrical costumes that are very, very grand. So they not only have their maker signature, which is wonderful to find, very, very unique facial features, but these wonderful, extraordinary costumes. And behind them we see a tiny little petite poupée fashion that I wanted you to see, because she comes with a wonderful original trousseau of costumes, and that leads us into a table of other great French fashions that are in this auction. So I have wonderful French poupées, lady dolls to show you from the Rosalie collection. And as usual, she didn't like to have a lot of duplicates of things, so we have a wonderful selection of different types of different types. Of course, crowning them all is the wonderful signed Dehors lady doll from her collection, with that wonderful, very signature Dehors face that she has on it. This doll is wearing her original costume, which is quite extraordinary, very, very fine. And she has with her an additional costume, which may well be her original costume. And she has her hoop petticoat, and she has all of these wonderful original early accessories. So the Dehors doll is one of the keynotes of the collection. Very, very beautiful, beautiful doll. Originally acquired from Countess Marie Tarnowska collection, and Marie had featured this in her book on fashion dolls. And if you have that book, there's a lovely spread in there which shows a photograph of the original doll, the young child who owned this doll, and the child is wearing an identical costume to this doll in the photograph. It's quite wonderful. In the back is a doll that tells us one of the basis of one of the arguments in the doll world. The doll has two things. First of all, look at her body and look at her legs. The kneecaps are what we're looking at. Commonly known in collecting circles as the baggy pants fashion, which to me is just as reprehensible as wraparound eyes, but that's neither here nor there, it's just me. Anyway, she's jointed in such a way that it would have more articulation to her and still protect the body cover, I guess, because you can easily, it's kid stretched over wood, but the kneecap comes down in like a culotte almost. It's very, very distinctive. And she has a stamp on her, and her stamp is from Theriault, T-E-R-R-E-N-E. Now, Theriault was a doll shop in Paris, not a doll maker, a doll shop. And they sold dolls that other people made. But because one of the dolls that they sold was this fashion doll with the baggy leg pants, collectors have come to say, oh, this is the doll made by Theriault. No, not made by Theriault, sold by Theriault. But when I saw that doll, I realized that's where that legend always came from. So just get over it. It's just a doll. We need to realize that the French fashions were mixtures of everything. A head was made here, a body was made there, the costumes were made here, and there were very, very few places, really never perfected until Gimot came along, that he introduced and made the entire doll. And even he didn't do that at first. But at any rate, we have a doll with a stamped Theriault body, which is wonderful to have because that was a prestige doll shop and a beautiful antique costume. Standing in front of her is a woman of regal majesty, wearing an original costume also, likely a Barrois or Blampeau of the period, one of the two makers. And look at this gown with that incredible lacework. It's an extraordinary doll. The woman has just beautiful bisque and a great kind of regal presence to her that's wonderful. Well, standing in front of her is one that's not really regal. She has a gentle demeanor. She's just very lovely. She's a petite model, an unusual flange cut around her neck, which is very, very distinctive, almost like a molded collar in a way, but very different to find and a very beautiful expression on her. Standing here next to her is the doll known as, actually registered as Poupée Statuette. And it was made by the husband and wife team of Radico and Cordonnier. They came from a theater background, and they were interested in creating a doll that they could use to show the different theater costumes that they made for promotion. This doll has another secret, and I bet she has shoes on so you can't see it. But hey, I don't care. I'm going to take it off and show you. Look at the bottom of her feet. And what does that remind you of? Could it be Barbie? Yes, Barbie was not the first doll to have a hole in her feet to be positioned on a stand. Actually, the Radico and Cordonnier originally came with a stand on which she could be posed, making her, some might say, the first Barbie. Here's another doll with a secret. Very, very beautiful. People love these petite poupées, and this one has a very, very lovely face. But wait, she has another surprise. She has a second face. She is the deposed Brew two-faced poupée. Very, very rare to find, and this one a really beautiful example of the doll. And we have a very lovely, what I call the classic poupée. During the classic period, about 1875, undoubtedly Gemot, what everyone looks for in a doll, when you can't have a wooden body and you're having a kid body, you want one like this. It is so firm and so strong still, like the doll had never been out of a box. It does not have an original box, but almost like that. It is so perfect. And wearing her wonderful original dangling earrings, her original wig, and her wonderful original costume. And then, of course, there's one of our cover girls, an all original Brew, in an original Brew dress. She's a size 10. She's absolutely wonderful. And she has the face that you all dream of having, which is, it's really funny to think about this, that you want a doll with a stuck out tongue. But yes, you do. You want that little tongue tip coming out from between her lips, because that's one of the characteristics that make this doll notable and representing like the golden age, the it girl of the Brew firm. And she definitely has it. And let me turn it around so you can see her costume all the way around as well. Very, very lovely, very astonishingly beautiful doll. And I've saved this remarkable doll to show you as the last doll of the dolls from the Rosalie Museum of Art that I'm going to be sharing with you today, because it is truly remarkable in so many ways. It's remarkable for its artistry, the Museum of Art, and it's remarkable for its history, and it's remarkable for the opportunity it can offer you as a collector to pursue the history even further, because all the clues are there. This is a wonderful Berrois doll from the museum, and it has so many costumes and so much documentation with it that it needs to be pursued further. When Rosalie acquired this, it came with the large wooden case in which are a number of pieces that are sewn together. They're tied together in pink ribbons, labeled. Here is, for example, mon tabliers, my aprons. Here are the socks. Here are other pieces. Here's her little corsets that are all tied together. They have labels on them. In the back of the trunk is the complete trousseau of everything that was included with the dolls. And it has just such absolutely remarkable, remarkable pieces, including even little slippers, little woven slippers. Surprisingly, a game of lotto, which is quite curious when I get into the history of the doll. A little book, a wonderful little purse, a wonderful hair comb, and so much else. Wooden shoes and simple slippers, simple kidskin slippers. But what is remarkable with the doll, she even has her own little doll, by the way. What is remarkable about the doll is that some of the costumes that come with the doll are nuns' habits. So when Rosalie acquired this, she contacted a person that she knew to be very knowledgeable in this field and determined that these were Carmelite nuns. They were the habits of Carmelite nuns, and she asked her to do research on them. And the research the woman did is included with the collection, and it talks about all of the costumes and what they are all about. Now, one of the things that also came with the collection was a baptism certificate, which is here framed with the doll. And it tells us that this was the baptism certificate for Marie Cécile Moulin from Saint Priest, France. Now, I want to tell you, I talked to you about Blondine a little while ago, and I talked about how what an opportunity to do further research and go to the Combe Museum, and maybe you can find the convert family and you can find more about them. And now I'm thinking, well, here's another wonderful opportunity. Saint Priest, France. I don't know where it is, but how about next time you go to France, instead of just going to Paris, why don't you go to these two cities, Oxenay for the convert family and Saint Priest for the Moulin family, and see if you can learn more about them. It's a wonderful vacation. It gives you a direction, a purpose, and you might find out something about this extraordinary doll. One of the things that always puzzled me was, why does she have the nun's habits, and why does she have these other wonderful, quite elegant costumes of the period? It didn't seem to make any sense to me at all. Well, I was reading through the description of all of the costumes and wondering, I mean, some of these were when she was a postulant. This was the costume of when she actually became a nun. It was like her wedding costume, and this was the veil that she wore at that time. They were extraordinary. But my question is, well, why are all of these other costumes here? I don't understand it. It doesn't make much sense. And also, I tried to put different clues together. Okay, the girl was born in 1868. That corresponds with what the age of this doll would be. That would be right. And then at the bottom of this research about these habits, here was this little note that Tanya Williams, who did the research, had added. I love this. I forgot to mention the precision and extent of the outfits seems to indicate that the doll was dressed as a baptismal or confirmation gift for the person whose baptismal certificate you have. That would be this. She was probably a niece of one of the sisters or the daughter of an important benefactor of the congregation. And then she gives an example that this was a common thing. Queen Marie Antoinette had a doll dressed in the Carmelite habit for her daughter, so that the child would not be frightened when she visited her aunt, the Queen's sister, who was a Carmelite nun. It was a fairly common practice in European convents. And that would explain why we do not have a doll dressed in a convent habit solely by itself, but a doll with an extraordinary trousseau and various habits from different parts. Why does this happen? Because it was likely a gift to a young child. But you know what? We don't know for certain, and that mystery is ready for you to get to France, make a trip to St. Priest, and go check out this family and find some more things. And that is what collecting is all about. And Rosalie Wilde brought that right to the forefront in everything she did. I hope that you can come to this auction and you can enjoy it. If you can't come and be here in person, at least the days of the auction, be online and watch the things happen, and you will just you'll have a wonderful time exploring the stories and the vision of this wonderful, wonderful collector of our time. Thanks very much for watching. I'll look forward to being with you again.